Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Wade and Carter Show. Ash Brent live from the Atzenoffer Studios. Glad you're all joining us on this Monday as we get rolling into the first week of school for some. I think colleges start to go back. Exciting time of year for parents because they get rid of the kids. And we're glad you're here with us, whether you're on Magic the Mothership, Facebook, YouTube, the No Bull Network. We just appreciate you tuning in wherever you are. Don't forget to like and share the videos. If you're watching on social media, you can also comment and be part of the show. And if you'd like to be part of the show, whether you're on Magic or the No Bull Network, you can always give us a call. 361-894-4020 is the number to call. Wade and Carter weather brought to you by the great folks at AT Deerlam Hayfeed and Ranch Services. Stop on by Deerlam for everything you need for anything in your life, whether it's your garden, anything outside, and they even got inside stuff as well. Pets, pests, gardens,
deer
plants,
feed.
They've got it covered.
75 degrees under sunny skies in Victoria, Texas, heading to a high today of 97. Special weather statement says possible threat to life or property. This event began at 5:07. Oh, there we go. Areas of fog have developed through the inland coastal plains this morning. Expect visibilities 2 mile or less at times. In a few locations, visibility can be down to 1/4 mile. I did see some fog. It's weird. I come up to the loop there, Ash, and I hit 87. If I take a right, I go to Cuero or towards West High School. If I take a left, I come downtown to our beautiful offices at 205. Taking a left, there was zero fog. You could barely see. They've got some temporary light poles out on the practice field at West High School for the football team.
Yeah,
Because players can no longer be, just like sailors can no longer be deployed on an aircraft carrier, players can no longer play in the heat. So the fog was to the right and just clear skies all the way down here. So the fog was coming in apparently from the moors.
Wow,
beware of the moors. Cody Bauman, the first one in, first time ever. Marvin Mickus Jr., second. Scott Tomko, quite often a podium stander. Linda Chris, Ricky Champagne King, Crystal Map, good morning, friend. Katie Jackson in Aransas County, good morning. There's Rena Shear. Hello, Rena. They evened out the ladies. And then you've got Mark Kurtz identifying as a man today, along with Lisa Poole. Andrew Alvarez. Cody says, is Brent wearing my grandma's couch? No, this is a Hawaiian take on a University of Texas shirt. Now, I'm going to make a confession here. I believe the Aggies, Texas A&M Aggies, have better gear than UT. You can only do so much with burnt orange. I mean,
you can only do so much with maroon.
Well, I agree, but they do it with like stripes. They do it with, I even see now Cody Chandler, my neighbor, had on it was a blue shirt predominantly. At any distance, it would be blue. When you got closer, it had a pattern on it. And then in white, embroidered on the chest, was the block ATM. And that's a little bit of a deviation for them. They're not going to wear that to the ball game. They're going to wear maroon. But it was a good look. When Mac Brown was the first coach, Ash, to say, come early, wear orange, be loud.
Yeah.
That people were all, blue T-shirts, green T-shirts to Texas games when I was first going there.
Really?
I did it. I liked my burnt orange stuff. There's Tammy Williams, Greg Garcia, Bobby Leister. Good morning, John Anderson in the Carolinas. There's Junior Samples, Justin Glass, Torrin Bales, Sherry Jacobs. Good morning.
John Paul Hall.
Andrew says he didn't notice a difference with the fog, and I don't know if he's referring to the fact that I saw it both ways. There's Micah Patton checking in. Chris Price. JP says, clear eyes or skies, full heart, can't lose. I have no idea what he's talking about. John Paul clearly on some Rick Perry hallucinogens this morning. They talk about Aggies sticking together. Here, bro, eat this mushroom. It'll make you. Anyway, Sherry Jacobs. Yeah. Junior Sample says, I'd be impressed if that shirt was Naugahyde.
That would be impressive.
There you go. The Bragas are heading off to drop off a kid at A&M. Bruce Woods checking in. I think he's in Victoria, Texas now, or he will be today. Scott
Snow, good morning.
Good morning.
So what do you make of the Abraham Lincoln debacle that we talked a little bit about on Friday, but over the weekend I noticed a lot of veterans, Navy veterans in particular, weighing in, a lot of Navy veterans who spent more than 9 months at sea or a sea.
Oh, Andrew Elvers says it's always foggy for him. Yeah, I get that. Well, you know what I think, Ash? Here's what I really think. I think we've just become, and I'm not insensitive to this, but we've become very sensitive on behalf of everybody. I don't think that mental health is where you put 5,000 people on a ship, 5,000 people. If a couple of hundred of them start to spin in after 6 months at sea, I don't think that that's illogical. I think that mental health issues on an aircraft carrier in a high stress environment makes sense. And Bruce Woods, thank you for summing it up. He says libtard media trying to make something from nothing. I think that most sailors would tell you, well, back in my day, we had some of those guys on the ship and people just told them to buck up and they slapped them upside the head and by golly, they got back in line.
Well,
I'm not saying that's the best way to handle it, but I don't think this is anything new. Do you?
Well, and what I'm hearing is this is new because these are most of those complaining or all of those complaining, according to some of the posts I've seen, first-time deployed sailors who've never been at sea for more than a couple of months. And so their Starbucks coffee is no longer available in the Keurig because they haven't been restocked.
Right.
And they're dealing with it. And apparently you had a bunch of guys jamming T-shirts down toilets to stop up the plumbing for some reason.
Now they should be able to as like traders.
Yeah, make that make any sense. What were they hoping that would do? Well, I guess we got to turn this around. The plumbing stopped up.
Here, right. Remember when that happened for a while? They did talk about plumbing problems on the Abe Lincoln. Pat Visconti gives you some perspective. He said they should try a deployment in the field to Iraq, or better yet, our time during Phantom Fury, kicking doors down and dying, waiting to die. Yeah, they are a joke. So Pat, you have that right to say that. I'm not going to call those people that are there in my stead. You've been there, you've done that. So you can have that opinion, and I certainly don't disagree with it. It's hard for me to call him a joke from my Barca lounger, but it's kind of like me saying Troy Aikman's weak when I'm sitting on my sofa watching the Cowboys. But I agree with Bruce Woods that the media is giving Iran talking points, and I do think it is treasonous. I just don't think that this situation, there was a time that a Navy man was too proud to talk about missing his mommy, is what I'm saying. And now these guys, they get some empathy and some sympathy from the left and the leftist media by whining about how bad it is.
Well, and a lot of the things that I've seen, it's the parents of the sailors that are doing the complaining. Little Johnny doesn't have all the Keurigs that he wanted. Well, he's been at sea for 9 months. Well, yes. And granted, we haven't been in this situation for a long time, but maybe a little bit of that could have been, hey, it's going to get tough because we're heading to a war zone and we don't know when we'll be back.
Ricky King says it's all a bunch of kids that have been pampered their whole lives, and instead of going through boot camp, they went through something like boot camp, and they don't know what hardships are. Junior Simple says, you're correct, Brent. We did not have internet, cell phones. When we went, we were gone. No communication back home, but handwritten letters, which was slow. Yeah. And Pat adds, I respect all that, but they signed the dotted line and knew they would possibly be on a ship for longer than the expected deployment time frame. 100% agree, sir. 100% agree. Katie
Jackson, who was in the Navy,
says helicopter parents never stop. And Junior, who was in the Navy, also says the needs of the Navy outweigh your personal comfort always. That's what makes it. It is interesting to me that people want to say, well, Pete Hegseth, he's not qualified to be, what are they calling the commander of the, chief of war,
Secretary of War.
Secretary of War. At the same time, he is a military veteran who was deployed, and he had the perspective. I mean, he said, it's not a big deal. And people said, the Trump administration's out of touch. It is a big deal. I disagree. I just don't think it's a big deal. Yeah. I don't think, though, in past administrations, when they weren't trying to blame everything on the current president, the media would not be bragging about the fact that there could be like dissension in the ranks or that there could be stress among the troops. We were always presented as a united front. The Iranians could believe, hey, we're breaking the United States military. And for the media to report that type of thing is dangerous.
Yeah.
All truths do not have to be reported. And to stretch the statement, you could say loose lips sink ships. The media should maybe watch what they report. They wouldn't probably not have done this under Barack Obama, the most popular.
Guaranteed. They wouldn't have done it under Joe Biden either. It's funny that all this talk about, well, he never served. He's not qualified. It was Chuck Hagel in 2013 under Obama, who was the first combat veteran ever to be nominated or named Secretary of Defense. So It's not like we've had combat ready or combat tested veterans leading our Defense Department.
Like Dwight Eisenhower came up through those ranks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Junior Samples gets a new knee tomorrow. I think that's okay. Just prayers for Junior. No kidding. I mean, that's serious. Shouldn't be a big deal for Junior. He's done it once. He's going to do it again. He'll be 4 inches taller. That right knee just kind of bows out. And he kind of schleps around. Yeah. Yeah, Ricky King says all they have to do is have mommy. Send them their Starbucks in the mail. I'm with you, Ricky. Although, I mean, these guys are going to come back to San Diego or wherever as like battle-hardened soldiers, and I'm proud of all of them. I think it's just a growing pain, and you've got to kind of suck it up, Buttercup. You're in the Navy now. He's not actually adding a knee, Cody. He's replacing a knee. Rena Shear says she's getting a new knee too in September. Rena, under our new socialized medicine program, they're going to take Junior's old knee and put it into your knee. But it's paid for by the government.
It's an upgrade.
It's an upgrade because his knee, well, I don't know. I bet you his knee's got more miles on it than Rena's. Yeah. Yeah. Tell you what.
Sorry to hear that, Andrew.
On Wednesday, he lost some, or he's gonna recover.
He loses some.
Oh, sorry for that. Jonathan Williams says, yes, this is a tragic story out of East Bernard. Speaking of prayers for the East Bernard community after the tragic wreck that took their head coach and his wife, left 3 boys behind. The photo I have no idea how old the photo is. It had 2 boys in East Bernard football uniforms. I think one may have graduated, one may still be in high school. Ash, they were out somewhere and coming home and had a car accident, killed them both.
Yeah, he's Saturday evening.
Head coach, athletic director. Yeah, and that's a small, tight-knit community, so definitely prayers for them.
Jeremy Jenkins and his wife, Brandy.
Do we know Jeremy Jenkins? The name sounds very familiar. I thought maybe at one point was he an assistant around here somewhere. Rena, I tell you what, you may be older than Junior Samples, but you are aging much better. Goodness gracious.
How many details on the wreck, at least that I could find?
No, there were very little. Now, Cody throws in just to stir the pot. Who needs Rena's knee? Do you have any takers for Rena's knee? Again, fully funded by the United States government on Medicaid for all.
Apparently, they were driving a Tesla when the car approached a curve on State Highway 60. And
I know where that is. That's like between El Campo and, and East Bernard. El Campo and Columbus, you're out that way.
Apparently went off the road and overturned.
So are we thinking that, in theory, was the Tesla on autopilot? And in theory, there could have been a problem with said autopilot?
Now we don't know.
Okay. We may never know. I'm sure there's a black box in the car. Yeah.
They were heading north on Highway 60, according to KHOU.com, and approaching a curve when it went off the east side of the road and overturned.
Yeah, so it went off the right shoulder. Or as the curve went around to the left, they went over the right side there.
So
the side conversation, Andrew says losing the toes isn't bad. He'll still have his big toe left. Junior says we will send a tow truck to get the toes.
Almighty.
It's
too easy, Junior. Too easy, Junior.
Sometimes low-hanging fruit is bitter.
Yeah. He was 51. She was 46. So tough one.
Sad time in East Bernard. No kidding. Yeah. It's a small
Especially this time of year. And apparently she was just started working at the school district as well. So
you just think about 3 kids. You got to count your blessings every day, folks.
3 kids and, 60 to 100 kids in that football program that looked up to that man as a father figure and a leader. That's a loss that'll be felt in that community for a lot of years.
So Jonathan Williams, on a quick aside before I go to my Waze app, I'm going to take an aside on this, Ash. Do you ever use one of those apps, the Waze app or the Google Maps or whatever?
Yep, I use Waze.
My problem with Waze, and it is a problem for me, because unless you kind of know where you're going in general, like I'll be on Waze and I was going to go big picture, 59 to the Beltway to 45 to the Woodlands Mall. And it'll say in 3/4 of a mile, exit right to Hammerley. And then if one time I did it, Dawn was like, trust the app. And I exited. And then as soon as I exited, in 1.25 miles, stay left to get on Beltway 8. Like it just had me exit and then go. And I thought maybe it was going to help me. I thought it was a genius app. Okay.
Can avoid an accident or something.
Yeah, but it didn't. It was just like dumb. Like it did. And it hasn't learned. There's not enough data centers for this thing to catch up. So I've gotten to where I look at the big picture and then I remember that I know how to drive around Houston. But I'm like, no, I'm getting off the Beltway. So Jonathan Williams, I'm asking you this as my human Waze. You say you take Highway 60 to go from Inez to Katy. It's a shortcut through. I get to go to a couple's shower this next weekend in Katy. Is that the way I should go? In my mind, I was thinking I would go, Ash, almost to like El Campo and then take 71, is it, up to Columbus, Sealy or something, take a right and go into Katy that way?
Why wouldn't you just go up 77 to 10 and take 10 all the way in?
Because I want to go across the hypotenuse. I don't want to do leg A and B. I want to go on C. Everybody that's listening understands what I'm saying there. That was some geometry for you.
I'm impressed that you even remember the hypotenuse.
Yeah. Bruce Woods, by the way, an insurance guy and a true professional, says, hey, I'm not trying to sound harsh, but I hope they had life insurance for the boys' sake. I'm sure they did, but you think about it. And those of you that have young children, life insurance is cheap compared to your sister-in-law trying to put 3 kids through college. If you have kids, the great thing about life insurance is you can create an estate and you can do it for pennies a day. Is that when we cue the music? In the arms of an angel.
No, that's exactly what you do.
for only pennies a day.
No. Pat Visconti says stay off I-10 at all costs.
I agree. Now,
There you
Junior
go.
says 77 to 10 is faster. I'm going to go with the combat veteran known as Pat Visconti. Says, I live in Katy, and I go the way Jonathan's talking about. So shut up, Junior.
There we go. I just had a text message from a Navy veteran who sent me some pictures that are being posted on and passed around as signs of the inhumane living conditions on the USS Abraham.
Right.
In the picture, there are cinder blocks. He tells me there are no cinder block walls on board U.S. warships.
No, there's no cinder blocks on an aircraft carrier.
So
That whole thing, a lot of it is, yeah.
yeah.
Well, I've
And a bunch of pictures of guys eating that don't look like they're in any sort of uniform.
I've been watching the
They look
last
like they're in
ship.
jail.
I've seen life on a naval destroyer. It is just, it's okay. They can make it. But again, that's what you signed up for. You weren't conscripted. You weren't drafted. Go do your job. Be proud. I'm proud of you. Go do your job. Unbelievable. Ash, let's take a quick break.
Okay.
USA Foundation Repair telling you that in these hot, cold, wet, dry conditions, your slab is going to move, especially on the gumbo clay that we build on here in the Victoria Rice Field. Call USA Foundation Repair at 578-HOME. Let them come out. It's easy if you need them to shim up a pier and beam home, but they can also lift, and I was going to say lift and separate. They can lift and repair your slab. Yeah. Guys on submarines really wish they had the terrible conditions of the guys on the USS Abraham. Allen's Wrecker Service, 578-6300. Allen had a busy weekend. Big rigs get overturned, high winds, wet roads that become slick because of the silt that's on the roads. Allen's, 578-6300 for all your towing needs. Let them help you. Vera Cruz Restaurant.
Get back in today. Man, I wish I could.
Yeah, the best hot sauce, the creamiest guacamole, and the cheesiest queso anywhere. Fresh chips, homemade chips, come out to you warm. They're great. Went services for all your electrical needs. Went is there to help. Whether you need a plug, if you need to drop a new plug down in a barn, or you need a whole house generator, anywhere in between, wiring a building, rewiring a home, call Went Electrical today. And Paravita Wellness today. Look, it's Monday. Let's start today. It's a journey, not a destination. Let's start today, eat right, get in there and pre-order some meals from Erica Briggs. If you'll go in and give Erica a chance, she will change the way you approach food. I need to approach food as fuel, not fantasy. I went to a CCA banquet over the weekend and it was wonderful. Kathy's Seafood, the Port Lavaca CCA chapter, they give you 2 big old fillets of fish and about 8 shrimp, 5 hush puppies, and a pound of French fries. And I ate all of it. And boy, I tell you what, it has clung to me. It's time for me to rewrite the ship with Paravita Wellness. So,
speaking of rewriting the ship, going back to the Navy thing for a minute, my dad was in the Canadian Navy, and I know it's a lot, it's not quite the same because it's a lot easier to clean your canoe every day.
Yeah, it's just it's like a little, they've got a tiller on the back of the John boat.
Yeah. But, he would tell me, what life was like on there. And we took a tour of the Lexington that brought back a lot of memories for him. But this Navy veteran who's texting me also says, he doesn't believe the pictures and the conditions being unsanitary because you clean it every day.
Right. It's what you
And
do.
it's
If it's
inspected
unsanitary-
every day.
Right. It's your fault if it's unsanitary. Yeah. And Bruce Wood sums it up. It's liberal media lies, anything to try and discredit. It's just like Tom Homan gets the Medal of Freedom or whatever from Obama, but now he's a Nazi fascist. Same guy, same role, same job. Now he's a fascist because he's associated with Trump.
Well, of course.
Andrew Alvarez asked, did y'all see all the boomers going to Dearborn to protest the Muslims? I'm telling you, this thing's going to come to a head. At some point, there's going to be a little bit of violence, and it's going to happen. And
well, I will say this: DFW apparently reversed course. I think were we on the air Friday when we got wind of that?
Yeah, they were going to start having foot washing stations for Muslim prayer.
Greg Abbott, the governor, apparently sent a letter to him saying he was going to investigate and that they may be in violation of some laws, and certainly the Establishment of Religion clause of the Constitution. But anyway, he got mad, sent a letter to DFW, sent a letter to IAH because apparently they have a foot washing station, and DFW apparently has reversed course and said, "Wow, we're not going to do this now."
Well, I'll tell you this: if somebody wants to donate, or if some forward-thinking charitable Muslim wants to rent a small space to have a Muslim chapel, I don't begrudge them that freedom of religion. And they could have a foot washing station inside their little chapel. But, I've always found at airports and at hospitals, there's like an interfaith chapel. It doesn't matter what religion you are. You can peacefully go in there and pray, and nobody's stopping you from doing that. I don't think anybody would say, don't unroll your mat in here. If you want to pray, go pray. But did you see where over the weekend a bunch of Hindus got trampled by a herd of cattle?
I did not.
That's like some angry ancestors coming back to get them. Yeah, apparently.
But here, I'm assuming that was in India.
It was apparently one of their very holy months, and an electric fence wire snapped, and the cows ran over a bunch of people.
I did not see that. I'm just, where does it end?
I know you want to know. Do you really want to know? It ends when there's more of them than there are us, and they impose their will on everything we do, and that's what they're after. That is what they're after, to end our Western civilization way of life, to do away with our Judeo-Christian values, to do away with our Constitution, to install Sharia law. That is their end game. So why don't you squash it now before we become the UK? The UK couldn't even allow the United States to land on their bases that we co-own because it might upset the Muslim community. And what are they prone to? Violence and disruption and disorderly conduct. So out of fear, England, our most trusted, the UK, our most trusted ally, said, Ixnay, don't land your plane here. That is their end game. And to try to say, well, they're just trying to get along, they're good people, you're kidding yourself. I'm not saying they're bad people. There are plenty of peaceful Muslims, and they should live in a peaceful Muslim country. I want to go back to Greenbow, Alabama with Forrest Gump.
Well, but I mean, this is I don't even call it a byproduct, because I think this is the end product of the leftist agenda to stop assimilating into this country and into Western civilization, accommodate everybody and their needs and their special interests, so that we don't have to set any bars. We can just lower all the bars to the bottom floor and now this is what we have. We no longer have a Western civilization identity. I think America is the last bastion of that hope because Canada has lost its identity.
No doubt.
Western Europe doesn't have a clue anymore what its identity is.
Open borders, the whole EU deal, the people just go around from place to place. You can do whatever you want. There's
parts
parts
of Paris that used to thrive with tourists
that
nobody wants to go into anymore because if you're not Muslim, you'll probably get beaten, certainly robbed,
and I don't remember
and likely killed.
Do you remember the last time that you read of somewhere? And I'm not even being like remotely facetious. I'm being somewhat sincere. When was the last time you can't go in there because those crazy Presbyterians will beat you up. You just don't hear of that.
No, I think the last time I was told, watch out, they're going to start speaking in tongues, and that might be a little off-putting.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
that wasn't the Presbyterians, by the way, but you know what I mean.
Maybe in Ireland, honestly, where the Catholics and Protestants clash at times. But yeah, Bruce Wood says it's not an if, but a when. WHEN.
Well, and Bruce has seen it traveling through Indonesia and that part of the world where there's a lot of tension in Thailand and Sri Lanka and countries like that between the Muslims and the non-Muslims. And who's winning those battles? Bruce?
Yeah.
And why are they winning it? Because the government is too afraid to stand up to them.
That's right. Pat Visconti says, I can't wait for that civil war. And Bruce Wood says, it is not a religion. No, it's a theocracy. It's a way. Islamist is a way of governance. And my buddy, remember I told you my buddy Bill Cox, that's the mayor of McKinney.
Yep.
And we talked about this over the weekend, you and me and Torn Bales. They're pushing to have a recall on the guy, and it's kind of that perfect storm deal. There was a request for a variance. The city of McKinney has a certain, you can't be over 3 stories tall. Let's just make that up for now. You can't have a building over 3 stories tall in this area with this proximity to our small, quaint downtown village look. And a properly filled out, which translates to me, somebody spent the time to hire a lawyer to fill out properly a request for a variance. And because the city's attorney couldn't find anything wrong with the request had to go by law, by county protocol, in front of the city council. Well, the request happened to be put in by people trying to build a mosque. And as Bill said to me, the issue was it a mosque, a 3-story Starbucks, a Baptist church? The issue was, did a group of citizens properly request a variance? And if so, we have to consider it. It turned into a melee of people saying, of outrage, no more mosques. And because the city council was required to at least review the variance, and if you think about it, Ash, with no regard for what's being built there, we're just doing it based on our rules. The city is calling for a recall of my friend, who I know is doing it for nothing, trying to fix the streets. And they're literally saying, we want that mayor gone. He's a pro-Muslim. And he's not, but it doesn't matter. It's kind of like, we're not saying it's your fault. We're saying we're going to blame you.
Well, here's what you got to be careful about. You're going to recall a mayor, and those that want to impose Sharia law, they're going to rally the troops. They're going to run a candidate. They're going to get more people out to vote.
100%.
And next thing you know, You've just recalled a mayor because you think he's pro-Muslim, and then next thing you know, you have a
You
Muslim
got a
mayor.
Muslim, like Dearborn, Michigan.
Or an
Muslim
Islamic,
mayor.
let me rephrase that, an Islamist mayor.
Yeah, you've got in Dearborn, Michigan, you have a Muslim.
Because I think there's a difference between Muslims and Islamists.
Islamic, except that all Islamists are Muslims. So the political structure is just counter to Western civilization. Patrick Visconti says, hey, those people supporting them and voting for them for office should take a stroll to a third world Muslim country and let us know how they make out. Bruce Wood says, if you're not Muslim, they want you dead. I believe that. I do believe that. Absolutely. So
yeah, I mean,
Ricky,
there's no assimilation, and there's no assimilation. There is assimilation. It's do it our way
or die,
or you don't get into the country if you're a visitor.
So you see, that's where the left is okay with this. They're going to be the champion of the Islamists because they are seeking the power. They're willing to go. The Islamist communist, El Sayed, Mamdani. By the way, I saw a deal on one of the weekend shows this weekend. They said that one of Mamdani's gifts to the city was apparently going to cost a lot more than he had thought it was. So you're just going to tax the rich.
Well, guess what he's done since. I mean, we're getting off topic here a little bit, but I find it to be strange bedfellows between the Democrats, socialists / communists, and the hardline Islamists that are running for office like El Sayed and the softer ones like Mamdani. But both end up in the same place. You have socialists and communists who completely control government with no opposition, and complete loss of freedoms, personal freedoms. In Islam, you have a theocracy, so forget the separation of church and state, or the the constitutional amendment that prohibits an establishment of religion, because by ideology, you have the establishment of a religion.
That's
because
right.
Now you have an ideology that runs your country. But
if everybody that ran for office had to be Baptist, the next thing you know, there'd be no dancing in the country. You see what I'm saying?
No,
the way
it would never happen. Imagine how up in arms the left would be if you tried to put something like that in. They get mad when they find out a Republican candidate or a Republican member of Congress prays over a decision they have to make.
In 1960, it made infinitely more news that John F. Kennedy was the first Roman Catholic elected president in this country. It made more news in 1960 that Kennedy was elected president than it did in 98 or whenever it was, 2000, that Barack Obama was elected the first Black American president. The country was, half of the country was up in arms that, we're going to hell. We've elected a Roman Catholic as we're going to be subject to the Vatican now. Is the Vatican going to tell us how to run our lives? But now we freely, Ricky King is a member of the program. He deployed after 9/11. You think Ricky King's going to vote for a Muslim for office? There's not a chance. But guess what? Apparently a lot of America has just forgiven and forgotten. Well, it wasn't these good, peaceful, loving Muslims that did it. It was the radicalized Muslims. Again, show me the radicalized United Methodists that went over to a foreign country and blew up a bunch of buildings. I just will wait to hear from you.
No, they go over there on a missionary trip, get kidnapped and beheaded because they're speaking about Jesus.
Yeah.
That's what happens to them.
Andrew Alvarez keeps coming back to this whole Bible thing. He goes, I keep hearing it in my head, except there be a falling away first. Here's the problem. Growing up as a little Baptist kid in Victoria, Texas, I always believed one of two things. Either I would be raptured away somewhere, because at that time in Victoria, everybody talked about, the end days. It was the end days in 1974, and we're all going to be raptured away. Or I thought I might die of old age or a nuclear bomb from Russia. That's kind of the way I grew up. Now, as a Christian in the United States, there is a very good chance that someone will one day be put on the spot. Are you going to convert to Islam, or are you going to die? And I don't think you betray God by saying, "Oh, I'm gonna convert," but then just don't. But I think the new way to go as an American could be to be martyred, Ash, literally martyred for your faith.
I mean, I think there's, and in the last, and you look at the timeline of this, the last 50 to 40 years, as radical Islamism has risen in the Middle East, so has the immigration and exodus of folks from those countries into the United States and into Western civilization. And again, I point to Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, who's running for Congress in Arizona. He's a Muslim, and he's one of the few that speak out. And he said it so plainly. There are a lot of us who assimilate into the country and believe in what the West offers, the freedom that we have over here that they don't have over there, the education of women, all the things that Western civilization has fought for and granted in the name of equal rights. But two things struck me as very telling here. So many of those that have come over here as moderate Muslims, or not the hardcore Islamists,
right?
But their family stays behind, and their family is threatened. So they don't speak out. They sit on their hands because they're afraid of what might happen. Because they've left places like Egypt and other countries. I'm trying to get him on the show because I think it'd be a fascinating conversation.
Well, plus you got Linda Chris says their takeover is planned perfectly because they play the long game. The generation that would have stopped them in the past is now mostly in their 80s. The generation nowadays were not raised to do the job. Pat Visconti with an aside, but it is a sad day. He says the left is literally celebrating Massachusetts signing a law that women can now murder their baby basically up to birth.
Yeah, did you see the videos of this? I mean, there were women in the background cheering and laughing.
Because they want to control their reproductive health. All those women just ought to get their tubes tied. All those women just ought to get on the pill. It's not like they've got a moral objection.
Well, there's nothing about reproductive. There's nothing reproductive in stopping the cycle of reproduction.
Amen. Amen. But see, you're just a man with white privilege. You weren't raised in the ghetto, so you don't get to tell a woman how she should deal with her body.
And I'm willing to bet all the white women in behind the Massachusetts governor, when they signed that bill, have never even seen a ghetto.
No, and the thing is, there ought to be a trade-off, right? If you want to abort a baby, then you need to bring in the man who impregnated you, and we're going to sterilize him. We're going to do a quick DNA check, and if it's his DNA, then we're going to castrate that dude. There you go. Somebody's got to be responsible for creating the baby. We know how it happens.
I'm going to take it a step further. I think if you miss 3 child support payments,
sterilize you
so you can never miss. So, I mean, you might miss the rest of that kid's parent payments. You won't miss another kid's because you won't have any more.
There you go. Like they say, well, that wouldn't be a deterrent. It would for that particular unit. Wow, that's a good time to take another break. Folks, wow. White Wing Materials. You need sand, gravel, aggregate, topsoil. If you've got a project, I saw this weekend, I saw some decomposed granite, and I know that that's a good place to call. They can find that for me. Reach out to White Wing Materials, 578 sand? What is it, Ash? He doesn't know.
It's 920 sand. I was trying to find it. There was a comment I was trying to get back to.
Well, you do that. You go ahead. We'll do a show over here, and then we'll come back to your show. Hang on. 920 sand.
Not my fault you can't read the number on the screen.
Well, it's so minuscule on there. I need a reader sponsor. Chesnick Furniture inviting you to come see why you just always do better at Chesnick. It's football season. How about a new recliner from Best American?
One that massages, one that heats your back.
Absolutely. One, and a dog that fetches the cold beer. Call Chesnick today and just let Bobby Leon and his family help you. We say Chesnick and Love make your house a home.
All the dogs I've had over the years, and not one of them could ever fetch a beer.
Palace Bingo, where friends meet friends. Today's a great day to go, and tomorrow as well. Junior Sample's going in to get a knee. That he won't be there, folks. You can go in. It's like going to a library. It'll be quiet, serene, and you can play bingo in peace. Sans Jr. Palace Bingo is a great place to go. The L&L Grill makes it a great place to stay. You can eat there. The food is fantastic. You will be thrilled at Palace Bingo. So let's see what we got. But see, here's the problem. As I tell you these things about Islam and Muslims and all that, I realize that I sound like some, for lack of the right word, racist, or I'm anti somebody. You don't have to be anti anybody. You just have to look around and go, hey, well, they want you dead in the end game.
When it's interesting that none of this was happening when England and its empire was spread throughout the Middle East. People were well educated. Women had rights. Women could go to school. England gives up their foothold in the Middle East in the early to mid 19th or 20th century. And all of a sudden, the advances being made in these countries have gone back 200, 300 years, if not further, especially in the case of women's rights. And the folks that came over here in the 40s and 50s and 60s from the Middle East have assimilated quite well and believe in. Look at the age. The older former Middle Easterns who immigrated to the United States or to the Western countries,
they realize what they've been gifted by being
in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, even early 80s.
Right.
Absolutely realize the gift they have been given and understand that assimilation was fine and hardcore Islamism is not. And now you have a bunch of people that don't see this, and there's a few that do, younger generation, and somewhat the generalization here.
Yep.
But the contrast is stark, and it all starts with England acquiescing to world pressure to give these people back their lands, because again, it's that modern day, It was trying to take modern values and apply them to things that happened 200, 300 years ago. You can't do it.
No.
The world was a crappier place back then. Everybody agrees on that, but it's evolved.
And yet there's more slavery today than there ever was back then. And nobody's up in arms about all the Christians being killed in Nigeria. I mean, it's selective outrage. It's fake outrage. And this whole concept that again, like in California, that a state that never had slaves owes something to people who live out there who were never slaves from people that never owned slaves. It's absurd.
Well,
and there's not enough blacks to worry about anymore. You don't worry about the blacks anymore.
The most telling thing out of all this was when all the protests against or in showing favor for Palestine were all of those in favor of Palestine freedom, which there isn't any.
Right.
Every single one of those supporters of Palestine have been oppressed at some point in history and now have the freedom and ability to speak their mind
here.
And they're supporting somebody who would oppress them if ever given power and does oppress them. Yeah. The irony is not lost on me, but it's lost on half this country, and it's lost on the mainstream media who don't point it out.
Some people want to be sheep. Pat shares this. In 2002, after 9/11, he was stationed at the Naval Academy. The FBI conducted a training, and the lady giving the training pointed these facts out. She said, number one, a 9/11 type attack, talking about how the Muslims take over. It's never the 9/11 attack. It comes from within our own government. Number two, there's an indoctrination in the public via the public school system. Number three, our medical field is taken over. And number four, they buy up American farmland. She said this in 2002. And 24 years later, it has all slowly happened. It would have been unheard of in 2002 for somebody to tell you, hey, man, I just sold 500 acres to this Chinese fella. He came over and said he wanted to build a solar farm. I sold him 500 acres. It would never happen. Just 20 years ago. Just 20 years ago. You have seen a total eroding of the Western civilization in 2 generations.
I want to see how the fight between the communists and the radical Islamists ends when they have to finally, when one of them has to try to control the Democrat Party or what's left of it, because the two cannot coexist. They're both in it for power.
Right.
Yet they also have common goals. Communists don't believe in religion, and Islamists believe in one religion. Look around the world. What do communists do when they take power? They control the media, they control the education, they control the propaganda and the messaging, and they get rid of religion. Yep, in radical Islam, the same thing happens almost the exact same way. They propagandize their kids through education. They take over the media. Look at Iran, state-run media, right?
Right. They're telling them that they're winning the war.
Yeah.
Of course, our media is telling us that as well, as the 60-day ceasefire ends today.
And they get rid of all other religions but radical Islam. The parallels are there.
I'd rather take my chance with the communists than the Muslims.
And they'll both take all your guns.
Yeah, good luck with that. Torrin Bell says, it's like saying there are moderate socialists. Socialism is the gateway drug to communism. I'm kind of joining Torrin in the idea that I'm really not for a while going to say Democrats. I'm just going to say communists. But at the same time, did you see where some of the New York unions, Ash, are starting to push back against the Democrats a little bit?
Yeah, it's no surprise. Well, I find it funny that, when Zoran Mamdani vowed to build a city-owned grocery store in each of the at least one in each of the 5 boroughs, right?
Right.
Offer groceries at 30% discount when grocers make a 1 to 4. Their profit margin is 1 to 4%.
4 is high. Yep.
4 cents of every dollar is what they make. I mean, in most businesses, it's purely a volume business because that's not a good enough model for most businesses to make it. Where do you find 30% to cut in that 1 to 4%?
Yeah, you can't. The only thing you can do is take it from taxpayers and
well, if that margin's 4%, I guess you could find the 30%, and now you're probably your profits are probably down closer to 1% to 2%, right? Where do you take that away from 1% profit? You can't. You wouldn't be able to stay open. But the irony is these buildings that'll produce revenue will not pay any property tax in New York, in a city that has the highest property values in the country. He's now said, well, you know what? We really don't know much about running a grocery store. So he's asked for privately owned grocery store companies to come in and run them.
Today's reason to be glad, Ash, we're getting close to the top of the hour. I did want to share this. Today's reason to be somewhat thankful that you live in Victoria and not Corpus. Mayor Paulette Guajardo, she's serving her second term. She was elected first in 22. Her current status is she's suspended for 30 days from August 8th to September 6th after the city council found her guilty on 3 charges related to a $2 million tax incentive controversy for a downtown hotel project. She said she remains in office and plans to finish her term. So somehow, Ms. Guajardo was convicted, if you will, without a trial, but the city council deemed her guilty of doing something. Probably the idea being that she gave a $2 million tax abatement and somehow gained some benefit from doing so. That's probably what they're arguing. That is one thing we have going for us here. I don't worry about our mayor or city council being corrupt.
No, I don't.
Inept maybe, right? Inept is possible, but corrupt. No, I'm joking. Dwayne, I'm sorry. Don't sue me.
No. I maybe having some conflicts of interest in some cases.
Yeah, that small. It's kind of like we're too little to be big, but we're too big to be little. And then in that gap, it's kind of like when you're on the roller coaster, and right as you go over the top, you feel kind of weightless. We kind of live right there as a city, and I think it's difficult to separate, your real job from your public service. Very difficult.
I think it should have been 50 years ago, 60 years ago, but when you're a city of 65,000 people in a county of 100, I find it, and with all the attorneys in town, I find it hard to believe there's attorneys that couldn't be appointed to some of these positions.
Well, the difference is when the mayor gets, $300 a month stipend, there's mayors that would never leave their day job to be mayor.
That's
so
true.
If you ask Dwayne Crocker, if he has to choose between what pays the bills and being mayor, he's going to take off his crown.
I mean, if you're a good attorney, and even if you're in a city that pays 6 figures to be a mayor, you're not quitting your mayor job or your day job.
Right. No, that's right.
I want to leave you with one thought before we go, because there's a statue of Lenin in Seattle, just to give you an idea. If people don't think that this is actually, that there are parts of this country that worship these folks, aside from the DSA, who is taking over, or the communists who are taking over the Democrat Party and blurring the lines by calling themselves Democrat Socialists of America, and then further blur the lines by saying, well, we just want to be like Norway. Well, last time I checked, Norway doesn't have government-run grocery stores.
No, Norway's a democracy that has some socialism mixed in, but it's also about 99.9% white. And it's also, they take in about 8 new bodies a year. You have to apply.
And guess where none of them come from? The Middle East.
None of them are Muslim.
Yeah. I mean, Lenin was quoted as saying the goal of socialism is communism.
Amen. That's
there
exactly,
you go.
That's Lenin telling you the truth.
Yep.
You got to believe them when they tell you just like when Beto O'Rourke said, oh, you're dang right, we're coming for your guns. I believed him and I voted against him. You see James Tallarico now on TV ads with his granddad, just me and grandpa. That guy is just a chameleon of hypocrisy. That
He's got no policy. It's apparent his policy isn't reverberating with the folks. So now he's got to try to play up the folksy down home image. That's what not just Democrats, it's what politicians do when their policy stances do not resonate with the folks who they're trying to get to elect them. They start building an image that doesn't exist. Watch it carefully, folks. Politicians are very good at propaganda and manipulating the media as well.
Absolutely. And by the way, it is the top of the hour. It's time for us to bail on you, but we owe you a First State Bank of Louise Astros update. We will talk about the Astros tomorrow. And Scott,
still in first.
We will make fun of the hapless 2-5 road trip to the worst teams in the American League, Texas Rangers. Folks, we're out of here. Hope you all have a great day. Be safe on the roads. Ash, I'll talk to you in a little while. Bye, folks.